What is good, YouTube? And today I'm going to be showing you guys an Ninfoniel Inferno DokiDoki one-shot team, and you're going to see that she is amazing here in this setup. The reason why I like her a lot in these one-shot comps and why I use her in my main team now for one-shotting this is because she doesn't rely on landing any debuffs or turn meter effects like Mio or Marvel does, and instead she actually relies on buffing your team, which can never get resisted, right? So the reason why this is good is because the reason why you want to push back the enemy adds on the first wave is because they have a nasty attack down debuff that just ruins your run if it goes on your main DPS, which I'm using Rilmocha. So because of that, we have this immunity which will stop that altogether. She also gives your team attack buff, which is pretty much required for one-shot comps. And instead of like a crit damage buff from, Beyontin or a crit rate buff from Yang, she gives Rhyme Bloom, which is going to be an extra 25% if you have 0 lattice like I do, or up to 40%. You don't actually need the 40% at level 3 if you have decent gear. If you do find that you're barely missing out on the damage check, you can raise her S3 level 3 and it will make it so that you get a decent chunk of more damage. But this shield won't get knocked off. You can see that my Ninfoniel is at 37k health, 0 lattices into anything, and the shield never really breaks off my Rilmocha, so she has that buff the entire time. In terms of build, it's going to be the hardest to build her because your other characters can be a little bit slow. Usually with other teams, you want everything to be decently fast so that you can get everything off before all the debuffs start happening. But with Ninfoniel, because you get immunity, you can kind of lower the speed on your team, but you still need her to outspeed the adds. So for that reason, you need her at like 287 speed at least, and you want her on HP bonus on all of her right side pieces because it makes her shield thicker so that it doesn't break before your Rilmocha takes the turn. In terms of your shell, you definitely want Codex. The reason is, even though this will last the entire fight on your DPS, the reason why you want Codex is because she will lap your Rilmocha most of the time, and if you don't have Codex, she will just S1. So she'll S3 on the first wave, S2 on the second wave at the start, and then lap your Rilmocha and then S1. And that is very bad because then she'll wake up the adds from the slumber, which will take 25% damage away from your Rilmocha. So that's why you want her on Codex, not really any other options. Now, in terms of the character that goes next, you want Kloss. I found 260 speed to be the sweet spot. You can drop it a bit, but don't make it any higher. Otherwise, she ends up lapping your Rilmocha and wakes up the adds, similar to Ninfoniel. So you don't need any lattice. I have my S3 maxed, but this isn't for DokiDoki, it's for other content. And all you need is effect accuracy and speed. And for your shell, you also want Codex. This is because in DokiDoki, because it's 2 waves, you're going to want Codex on every single debuffer you bring so they can reapply their debuffs, and Kloss is a debuffer with her defense down and speed down, so you want Codex. If you don't have Kloss, you can use Dinah or even Nahor and they both work, but Kloss is going to be what I have built, so that's why I'm showcasing her. Now for the next unit to go, you're going to have Kazuya the Reverie. You just want her to go after Kloss, and then of course after Ninfoniel. You need your S3 maxed, and basically it's the same build where you go full effect accuracy, and you want her on Codex as well. Now because her speed is going to be a lot lower because she's the 3rd to go, or even the 4th, depending on who you bring in the 5th spot, you can run her on a pretty crappy Codex. You can see I don't even have passives rolled, it's level 10 and it still works. You just need that reset on her S3. Now for your DPS, it's going to be Rilmocha. So Rilmocha is the best at one-shotting. She got buffed for DokiDoki, and DokiDoki's HP also went down, which makes her even better. So I have her S3 maxed. I honestly don't know if you need this anymore. You can probably only get it to level 3 and it works. But I have it maxed because I was using her in week 2 of the game's release and it was pretty much required at that time. But you probably don't need this much investment. But for your modules, you just put her on full damage. You need momentum and you pretty much need fury. For your tertiary, you can go Swift Raid or Swift Raid or Fury Edge. And then for your shell, you're going to want to run Count. The only thing you need to really do is make sure you're at 85% crit rate. And this is pretty easy with momentum. And then you go crit damage, crit rate on your right side pieces. And you should be able to meet the stat requirements pretty easily. The most important thing is making sure you're on Count and also making sure you're on Momentum Fury. You can see my Count only has Fury on it, and I'm just forcing Momentum Fury and it still works. But yeah, like I said, Fury Edge will make the gear requirements a lot lower, but this is what works. Now for the 5th spot, it's really up to you. Honestly, you can 4-man this if you really wanted to, but I don't know why you would, because it makes the runs less consistent. But you want to bring something that can actually, you know, do damage on the first wave, first of all, and also having something that can manipulate your turn meter is going to be very good for the second wave. If your Rilmocha is too slow, what ends up happening is the middle ad can wake up before Rilmocha goes because it's a lot faster than the other ads on the second wave, and then you'll have to waste extra time killing it, and it's just really annoying. So for that reason, you know, I have 2 characters that I recommend. There's a lot of other characters you can use. You can use Freya or Nell. And the reason why is because Nell has speed buff, which will make it so that that problem will never happen that I just mentioned. And Freya has her passive, which boosts her team. And she also boosts her team with her S2 because of her passive on the second wave, which makes it so that the problem never happens either. They also provide extra damage. Nell has vulnerable debuff. This is really good because even if you miss Kloss defense break, if you have your Rilmocha geared enough, you can actually still clear the first wave and the second wave. The middle ad might live on the second wave, but it's fine. You can just single target it down. And Freya is very good because she can run Revelation, and her S3 will literally do like 60% of the damage or 60% of the health of the first wave ads. The second wave, she doesn't really do anything except just turn meter push. So I do think Nell is a little bit better, but if you guys don't want to build her, then Freya is a great option because she works at 111, whereas Nell, you probably want to get her S3 to about level 3. So I'll show you guys the run now and how both teams work with both Freya and Nell in the spot. And you can see why Ninfoniel allows you to actually, you know, run this pretty easily. You don't need Beyonce, you don't need Mio and stuff like that. And the runs should be pretty easy for you to speedrun Inferno DokiDoki. So I'll show you guys the run now. And like I said, you can use Freya or you can use Nell in the spot. And I'm pretty sure there's like a ton of other choices, but these are the 2 that I've been just pretty much testing out for you guys. And the reason why they're so good is, like I mentioned, they both contribute to the first wave damage by a lot with Freya's S3 on Revelation, and you also have Nell with her vulnerable down. And on the second wave, very importantly as well, they will help your Rilmocha cycle into getting her second S3 off without the ads waking up, so she gets extra damage. This is going to be from Freya's passive with her S2, also proccing it. And then from Nell, it's going to be the residual effect from her S3 that gives everyone on your team a speed buff. So I'm going to show you guys both runs. You want to target these side ads always because they're less health. Ninfoniel puts up the immunity and the attack buff, and you're going to see that this way my team doesn't get debuffed at all, which is very important. Even if the defense break misses from Kloss on the first wave, it's fine as long as my Kazuya sleeps, because Nell and Freya has a lot of damage with Rev, as you can see here, and then Nell has vulnerable debuff, which allows you to still kill through if you have enough damage on your Rilmocha, which is great. And now, because we have Codex on everyone but Freya, they'll do everything again. And like I said, you want to kill the side ad. Any of the side ads work. You do the same thing. Freya will push my Rilmocha so they don't wake up. Then my Ninfoniel S2s, that's why we have her on Codex, so she doesn't wake the ads up from the sleep. And that way my Rilmocha can go into all the slept ads and then one-shot them all. So I'm going to show you guys the run with Nell now in the 5th flex spot. And you're going to want to run her on Codex, and the reason is because she's going to go before Kazuya to apply the debuffs, right? And then Kazuya will sleep so that Rilmocha can get the 25% extra damage from Slumber. And if you don't have her on Codex, what actually ends up happening is on the second wave, she will end up pushing your Rilmocha with her S2 to make her go before the ads get slept, which is very bad. And you can see she's on a level 10 Codex, doesn't really matter. You can put your Kazuya and Nell on pretty crappy codexes. Honestly, your entire team besides Ninfoniel can be on some crappy codexes because only she needs to be really, really fast. But I'll show you guys the run now. It's pretty much the same thing as Freya. Nell contributes to the first wave with her vulnerable down. And she also contributes to the second wave as well because she can reapply it, which is great. But you can see, you know, this immunity is so good. And with Nell, if you miss the defense break, you can still kill as long as you land the sleep. And of course, you know, if you land the vulnerable, you can't miss both the vulnerable and the defense down. But we land both, so you're going to see that there is going to be a massive amount of damage. 170k, that's almost double the amount that you need to kill, which is crazy. And then we are going to go into one of the side ads, like I said, from the Freya run. And pretty much the same thing here, right? If we weren't on Codex, my Nell would have pushed up my Rilmocha and then S3 before Casio slept. And you can see, yeah, that's a huge, huge overkill. Yeah, so this team works as well. It's really up to you and what you have and what you want to build. But both teams are very, very good. And you can see Ninfoniel's buff and immunity is super strong for these one-shot comps. Yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video.